Hello everybody, welcome to Mr. Smith's tennis training. Now today's lesson is dedicated to a young girl called Taryn who's starting to learn the game using the videos I'm posting. I wish her every success. What we're going to do in today's lesson is to think about one of the most graceful, effective shots you can play in tennis, and that is the backhand drop shot. What I'm going to do is give you a series of 5 coaching points or tips that will help you to develop a really effective drop shot that will win you lots and lots of points over your playing career. Now the whole point of a drop shot is to hit a really short ball that just lands over the net and that bounces twice before your opponent has the chance to reach it. If done properly, it can be one of the most effective shots you can execute in the game of tennis.
Well done.
Now the very first thing to think about with the backhand drop shot is what grip we're going to use. And as normal, with lots of backhand shots, we're going to use the continental or chopper grip. Now to find this, you get the base knuckle or the index finger of your playing hand and you place that knuckle on bevel number 2 of your racket. So you hold your racket like this. Bevel number 1 is the flat edge along there, bevel number 2 is 1 along from that. So you get the base knuckle of that index finger and you place that finger on bevel number 2. And that gives us a really nice grip to get angle and to hit slice on our backhand drop shots. Now the second thing to think about with your drop shot is where you play the shot from on the court. A lot of players think the drop shot can be played from the back of the court, and if it works, it's fantastic. But for most players, you need to be at least a quarter into the court, as close to the net as you possibly can be, before you attempt to play the drop shot. The success rate of your drop shot will go up the closer to the net you are. You stand a much greater chance of making a successful drop shot against your opponent that can't be returned if you're as close as you possibly can be really to the net. Now the third thing to think about on the drop shot is the swing action you use to play the stroke. Now this is where a really important piece of advice needs to be put into practice. Whatever you do, do not fall into the trap of trying to hack at the ball from quite a long way up on the stroke in order to impart as much slice, as much spin as possible. The whole point of the drop shot is, yes, you should try and put spin onto the ball, you should try and slice or backspin the ball over the net, because what that will do is make the ball check. It will make it bounce less far and lower, making the shot harder for your opponent to retrieve. So by all means, try to place backspin onto the ball. Now in theory, the more backspin you create, the more the ball is going to check, the harder it will be for your opponents to reach. But really, if you try and create backspin by hacking at the ball from way behind your head, it's going to be very hard to play the ball short. You'll probably end up slicing the backhand really quite deep into your opponent's court. Okay, my fourth tip is to think about how your body is positioned and your response of your body to the ball hitting the racket. First thing to say is that with most shots, we should be standing on at a 45-degree angle. But when the ball comes towards us, what we need to do is to make sure our wrist, our hand and our arm are as loose as possible. They need to absorb the impact from the ball as it makes contact with the racket. Okay? We refer to this as having nice hands in tennis. It's when your body absorbs the impact of the ball, enabling you to maneuver it where you need to. So as loose as possible with your wrist, with your hand and with your arm as you absorb the impact of the oncoming ball and reduce the amount of energy that's going to be produced by your racket to make the ball land shorter in your opponent's court. Okay, my final tip on the backhand drop shot is when you play the stroke, you really don't need much of a follow through. It's one of the few shots in tennis where you don't need to make a good attempt to the follow through. You can simply play the ball and you can pretty much stop the racket after the ball leaves the racket strings. Anything you do on the drop shot after the ball has left the racket strings really isn't going to help the stroke at all. So as you play the shot, nice compact swing, about a foot above where you're making contact with the ball, you come through the ball and then the racket can stop. A lot of players used to say you should try to curl the racket under the ball to absorb more impact from the ball. It just doesn't work. As soon as the ball's left the strings, really, there's nothing you can do on a backhand drop shot to influence the trajectory of the ball. You've either imparted enough spin and absorbed enough energy from the ball to get that ball to land short in your opponent's court, or you haven't. So no follow through is really required after you've played the stroke. Okay, so my challenge to you now is to have a go at a drill which will test your ability to play really effective backhand drop shots. What we're going to do is to set a drill up and we're going to see how many drop shots in 10 attempts you can make successfully. Now to set the drill up is really straightforward. All we need is a wall like this one with a washing basket or similar container placed in front of it. And all we're going to do is to play the ball off the wall and attempt to backhand slice the ball into the washing basket to get it into the basket rather than bouncing again off the wall. And what we're going to do is to have 10 goes and see how many of those 10 goes we can basically land into the washing basket. Okay, I'm going to give this drill a go. Let's see how we get on. Okay, so I managed 8 out of 10, a couple came off the rim. My challenge to you is to have 10 goes at that and see how many you can get successfully into the basket. It doesn't matter if they stay in there, but they're going to land in the basket with plenty of backspin on them. Post your videos below, hopefully you'll beat my score. I look forward to seeing how you get on.